let's see, there we go. Now the microphone should be doing just fine. Okay, again, brief recap. This is the third character we're creating using the new Cypher rules. This will illustrate character creation, and this is going to deviate from the basic processes and from the systems to show you how you can modify character options at character creation in ways that support a broader range of character archetypes. The new Cypher system is built really to support new players more, to allow an easier on-ramp, especially for people coming from, we'll say, more popular RPG systems and may not know how to translate their ranger character into an explorer who lives off the land or something, whatever focus or whatever it might be. Instead, they're more used to particular nomenclature from a genre. So in some ways, character creation is more limiting. However, the system underneath all of that is still the same, basically the same. So it has the same flexibility that it had in the previous Cypher system. And I'm going to illustrate that through the creation of an alchemist. Because an alchemist would be a little tricky to build as their primary identity. Now, it's be very easy to build a character who casts spells and then also had alchemy as a skill or something along those lines. But I'm going to really lean in and show how you can be like truly only an alchemist. But to make a cool alchemist using these rules with just a little bit of changes. And so I start with my character sentence, which I'm used to from Cypher system, is not required in Cypher because you can build up incrementally, but it really helps me understand what my goals are for the character. And so based on the options in the Cypher playtest, I'm going to create Tolan Staircaller, a bookish mage who casts spells. Now, again, I'm going to modify this because he's actually not going to cast... The irony is he's not going to cast spells. Who brews potions. But brewing potions, I'm going to put an asterisk here because that is not a focus it's not one of our options yet. But I'm going to show you how you can kind of do it with existing options and a little bit of squinting. So we have to make our core character again. We start with 8 in each pool. Again, we get 6 points to add wherever we want. As with the other characters, I'm adding 4 points to a major area of emphasis and 2 points to a minor area of emphasis. Effort is going to be 1. 3 minor wounds, 3 moderate wounds, 3 major wounds is the default. Let's see. Cypher limit is 2. Freely use light weapons. And 2 skills. I know I'm going to be getting some magic lore later with character creation, so I'm going to take Clockwork Engineering. Again, to get him away from the traditional blasty spell sort, there will be a little bit of that, but not a traditional dungeon crawling mage. And also history, because the story I want to tell is going to involve engagement with the history of the world. And so having a character with a skill in history gives me a reason to have someone interested in the history and with some ability to make connections in the history that would fit within the narrative. I'm going to skip equipment because that's just reading off a list. And that is our starting core character. Now let's start adding in the other pieces. So let's see. First, I will find Bookish. Bookish is going to get us 2 intellect points. And trained in a knowledge skill. Oh, this is where history could have come in. Let's add identifying. And remember, identifying magic. And by this, I really mean types. Not that he looks at every weapon and goes, oh, I know how that works, like an identify spell. But instead, he can say, oh, this is the work of these great rune crafters. Or this is clearly brewed by this special tradition in magic. So I'm going to go with identifying magical types. So right now, you've got a bookish core character. The fun really starts as we blaze through. I'm going to choose Mage, but I'm going to just, again, show you how flexible these rules are. Where is it? Let's see. Mage will add 1 to my speed pool. It will add... That's not right. That's Monk. Mage. 3 to my intellect pool. 1 to edge of my choice. That's definitely going to be intellect. Let's see. Cannot freely use any armor. I'm not going to add a negative to the character sheet. Just if there's nothing on the sheet will indicate they can use armor. 1 weapon of choice. I'm going to put club, but really, it's like a clockwork tool. Because he's in this quasi-scientific magical tradition. Okay. In terms of abilities, this is... here we go. Blast. Blast is 1 or more intellect, and it does what you think it does. I won't read all the detailed text, but it blasts a target for 4 damage. There's some other options to it and some ways to make it better and things like that. This is the blasty part of a traditional mage, but I really want to find an alchemical flavor to this. For the alchemical flavor, the blast... Well, I'm going to figure that out. Maybe it's more of it's something quasi-scientific as part of this blast mechanic. Also gets mage armor. Mage armor is 1 intellect. And it will create a field of energy, surrounds you until you use your 10-hour recovery, allows you to try blocking attacks with an eased intellect defense instead of a might defense. So this plays with the new system of wounds and everything else. This, with mage armor up, you'll be able to say, I want to absorb a blow, which means if I succeed at the task, I'll reduce its severity by a level. So if I'm in danger of having a minor wound, my armor will let me roll against that source with my intellect task. So I can use intellect points and intellect edge in this task, and if I succeed, I would reduce that minor to 0. If it had been a moderate wound, I would have reduced it from moderate to minor, and so on. So this is a fun skill. Again, I need to come up with an alchemical feeling for this skill. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if I can. Yeah. I'm trying to make sure I don't go off screen as much as I have been. I've got a whole new setup this week. It should be much better, but I'm still learning some of this. So second option is mage armor. And this is where I'm going to deviate. I am not going to choose the next option, which is cast spells. The way cast spells works in Cypher is that you choose a Cypher every day. At lower tiers, it has to be a low-level Cypher. At higher tiers, it could be moderate or high-level Cypher. And you just say, I'm going to have this as my spell. I get to use this all day. Every time I use it, I have to spend 2 intellect points, but I get to use that Cypher or use an ability identical to a Cypher all day. So if I choose, this wouldn't be a minor Cypher, but a moderate one. If I choose a grenade, I would spend 2, I think it might be a little bit more for a higher level Cypher, but let's ignore that for the moment. I would spend the cost every time I cast it, but I could throw that grenade 3, 4, 6 times during the day. You know, I'm replenishing my pools. I can keep throwing grenades. And that does have that sort of sense of memorizing a spell that I understand they want for a mage in a dungeon crawling fantasy. But of course, I wanted something a little different. And so I'm going to instead use an ability from the Witch, which is basically the sword and sorcery genre mage. And they have other abilities that I'm not adapting, but the one I'm adapting is brew potions. And potions work a little differently. I'm realizing I need to swap out another ability, but I'll get back to that in a second. Brews Potions lets you choose or make, I think it is like 2 potions a day. And a potion is, again, any minor cipher. So instead of having one that you can cast, or actually I think with cast spells, you might have 2 or 3 that you can cast over and over and over again, I can create potions that are one use, mimicking any minor cipher ability. And what I wanted to emphasize, that felt better to me when I was trying to make an Alchemist, and it does give a different play style. Instead of picking something that I'm going to do repeatedly, I'm trying to pick utility options that can cover a bunch of cases, because I'm going to have more of them, but I'll only be able to use each of them one time. And this gets to the second part of the abilities, and again, to be trying to be as balanced as possible. That term isn't really useful in Cypher. To make sure that this character is very similar to its basis in a mage. I'm also, instead of just like I swapped out Brews Potions for cast spells, instead of Blast, I'm going to take. Let's see, there's a special term for it. The second ability for the Witch is to be able to hold more ciphers, if they are the ciphers that the Witch made. So here we go. That ability is called Potion Ciphers. And again, what Potion Ciphers does is you can bear 2 additional ciphers at a time, as long as they are the ciphers you created with your brew potion. So, and again, how many brew potion? Let's just, you brew a potion, choose its effect. It does not say there's a limit per day, though you do still have limits on how many cipher slots you have. So I can go down here and say potion A, potion B, and I effectively am creating a character with 4 cipher slots who can create up to 2 ciphers. And that feels more to me like the flavor I wanted from an Alchemist. And again, one of the things I so dearly love about Cypher and the Cypher system is making these sorts of swaps is entirely possible. And the system is robust such that you don't often I don't often see problems with a swap that it breaks something. Nothing. This isn't going to break anything in the system, because the system is pretty locked down with levels of effort, difficult, with all being difficulty levels and the like. You can swap almost any random ability at its. You want to keep it at the same tier, let's say. So, like a starting ability from a 2-weapon wielder, and swap that out with an ability for your thief, probably would work just fine. It's just going to make a different type of character. And that's exactly what we want to be able to do, is to create as wide a variety of characters as possible. Just so that people aren't really dominating play, especially in terms of spotlight for the game. That's the only reason why you even care if that someone replaces an ability. Like I replaced, where we go? I replaced Blast with potion ciphers. I didn't just say, well, I'll take that one too, and I'll take this one too. To make sure that characters all have a similar number of options and are likely to contribute to a similar proportion of the game, try not to have some characters with many, many more abilities than others, basically, is what it comes down to. And especially when in this system, a skill is basically an ability. So you could have a character that's very skill-based with few abilities, or very ability-based with few skills, but that really all is equivalent in terms of the options that your character has to influence the narrative. But swapping is pretty easy. I have a feeling this is going to be discussed a lot more in the GM guide, but of course I'm not privy to anything in that yet. Okay, digression. But to review, from the Witch, we took potion ciphers and brews potions. We kept our mage ability because we were keep doing dungeon crawler, and that was mage armor. Cats are now playing. And so we have a bookish witch at this point. But then I want to go back and say, okay, no, this witch is going to cast spells. So we go to the focus of cast spells, and we're going to interpret casting spells from kind of an alchemical standpoint, because that's the character we're really trying to create. Okay. Again, please bear with me. I'm going through the lightly formatted pre-release PDFs. Here we go. Cast spells. Now we can choose. So from the way the focus will work is we will choose 2 of the abilities that are available for cast spells. And once the game comes out, there's actually dependencies. You have to have this and this from tier 1 to open up or unlock this part of tier 2. And so what your options are at tier 2 are limited by what you took at tier 1. But we don't have those graphs yet. So I'm just going entirely on vibes. And the truth is, when the rules come out, I'm still going to go entirely on vibes. Don't tell anyone. They might get upset with me for, breaking the orthodoxy, but no, they won't. Again, the system is incredibly robust for these sorts of swaps. Okay, so we can choose Blast. We can get that back again. Had to swap it out earlier. We can choose Hedge Magic, which is being able to do weird little things, lighting little fires, changing things colors, stuff like that. Prepare Spell, which I'm trying to avoid because I'm not wanting to make a spell caster in a traditional sense. And Sense Magic. Now we got it. So we had to give up Blast earlier. Let's add that back in. Oh. There we go. I'm not even really sure what happened there. We're going to add Blast. Or 1+. Hit. And Sense Magic. That also, I believe, costs 1. Yeah. And without getting into great detail, it does exactly what you think it does. It lets you sense magic that you would not otherwise be able to see. So, I now looking back, I have a character that really comes together as an adventuring alchemist. Without having cast spells, but still having lots of options. I will be able to create potion ciphers. I have a cipher capacity of 4, so every day I'm going to be choosing different things, and sometimes I may make the wrong choice. It all just kind of depends what goes in the story. Though since I'm creating the story, chances are they're going to work out pretty well. And I would recommend this as a GM in any circumstance. If your characters get a set of ciphers, do what you can to create situations where those ciphers will be useful. Give them an incentive to use their ciphers. Don't just say, ha ha ha, now I've stuck you with ciphers that you aren't going to be able to use because we're moving to the astral plane, or whatever it may be. Instead, say, oh, okay, you have these ciphers, and you have these character arcs, remember, and okay, based on this gives me enough to put together a story, or things that I want to add into my story to make sure it's relevant to everybody, and give this is the perfect time for that cipher that creates a slippery surface. Or this is a perfect time for that cipher that creates a giant wall. Basically goad them into using their ciphers and tell them you're doing this. Tell them, look, I'm going to populate this evening's activities with things that you will be able to use your ciphers for. And believe me, I'll replace those ciphers later. But we all will enjoy this more if you see the perfect opportunity to use your cipher and you take it. And then I'll just get you a new one. So there'll be a lot of that going on. I've got mage armor that's going to let me use the armor rules, but as a mage, and I'll come up with an alchemical sort of or pseudo-scientific way of doing that. Brews potions, against how I create those potions. Blast and sense magic. I won't. I think I'll stop there because I don't need. That completes our character, the bookish mage with witch's abilities who, instead of casting spells, we say it brews potions or something along those lines, to indicate that it's not, I mean, it's the cast spells focus, but we've drifted it in a very different direction because of our choice of type. And that a couple substitutions opens up an entirely new character archetype we can play with that I think will be fun to have along for this solo Cypher fantasy campaign. So on that note, I will just say thank you if you are still watching. Remember, Thursday nights are our panel where I'll have picked everything off the back of the bed, where I've been, again, swapping out computer parts for our stream, and we'll be talking about character arcs and creating a faction for a campaign building exercise. And at the next of this fantasy, Cypher Solo Fantasy, we'll begin our story. I'll introduce how I'm using Mythic Game Engine as an Oracle system, and show you how I integrate that with Cypher system. And because the Mythic Engine provides sort of built-in GM intrusions, which are the part that would most be missing in a solo Cypher game. So a lot coming ahead. I hope we'll be able to bring some of you along on this journey. We've been loving it so far, and again, upgrading and trying to get better to provide a better stream for you. But thank you very much. Watch out for me on the Cypher Unlimited Discord, and hope to see you again soon.